President Trump wants changes to kids' vaccines. He signed an executive order today that would lower the amount of recommended shots and would separate the vaccine for measles, mumps, and rubella into 3 different shots across 3 appointments. Doctors here say that the president's words and actions could deter families from getting their kids vaccinated. Thanks for being here tonight. I'm Kyle Clark.
And I'm Kim Christensen. It comes as measles cases across the country at a 35-year high. 9 News reporter Rachel Krause joins us now. And Rachel, doctors say the president's order is creating confusion.
Yeah, the CDC's own website says diseases like measles, mumps, and rubella are still here, and people who decide not to vaccinate their kids put their own children and others at risk. But today, the president called to split up the MMR vaccine from 1 shot into multiple, and at the same time calling for fewer vaccines for kids. On a visit to the doctor, vaccine discussions are routine.
Yeah, so it's definitely almost a daily topic that we are always talking with our patients about, for sure.
Lately, so is pushback on the science that supports it.
Yeah, I would say a lot of times they come in a little bit closed off and maybe a little bit defensive because they know that we're probably going to recommend them.
Dr. Corey Lyon is a family physician at UC Health. He says this is the time of year when kids should be getting caught up on immunizations before heading back to school. But after President Trump signed an executive order Monday that would cut the number of required vaccinations for kids from 18 down to 11, Lyon worries that vaccine hesitancy will climb.
Yeah, it could be a potential another barrier, as we have already barriers around information that's not accurate and confusing patients and families.
The measles, mumps, rubella shot is given as 1 vaccine. The president wants to split that up, even though individual vaccines aren't approved by the FDA or available.
It doesn't make sense to me, and I would not want my child to receive its vaccines that way. And actually, your immune system does better with those combined vaccines because it's able to take those, start building your immune system, learning from those vaccines, and it does that at one time versus at 4 individual times.
The push to split up MMR comes as measles cases are climbing.
Absolutely, yes.
State epidemiologist Dr. Rachel Hurley says they're at the highest level in 3 decades.
Unfortunately, nationally, we've now seen a record number of measles cases, the most cases that we've seen in the U.S. since 1991. And the trend is pretty similar here. Last year and this year, the number of cases that we're seeing are really numbers that we haven't seen since the early 90s.
She says with measles cases expected to keep rising, they need more kids vaccinated, not fewer. Lyon says that will mean more conversations with parents about why these shots are still safe and trusted.
These are 100% preventable diseases. You know, our goal as physicians and as a community is to prevent those diseases.
The state health department tells me the executive order doesn't change the state's school or child care requirements for immunization, saying in a statement they will, quote, continue to base its vaccine recommendations on the best available science and ensure Coloradans have access to safe and effective disease prevention tools. Rachel Krause, 9 News.
We started the new week just like we ended the last one, hot, hazy. Changes on the horizon, though. Chief Meteorologist Kathy Saban is here to tell us what we can expect and when.
How about some rain, some cooler weather? And we're just days away, Kim. Today, our high at 95 degrees, triple-digit highs in southeastern Colorado, where a heat advisory was in effect all day long. But this heat dome is starting to shift to the east, and that's going to open the door for more of that monsoon moisture to stream northward back into Colorado. We have to get through another warm, hazy day tomorrow, though, with bad air, and then things start to change. Temperatures have cooled a bit, low 70s in Castle Rock, low 80s in Denver, some 60s on the eastern plains where we were tracking some isolated thunderstorms. But how about the smoke and haze we've been plagued with? Signs that things will be improving dramatically in the matter of days with that wind shift. So we continue with an air quality advisory through 4 o'clock tomorrow, but probably the last day for that. And a little moisture coming in underneath the ridge tonight means there's some areas that are seeing a few showers around Vail, Fairplay, Buena Vista, and Colorado Springs. These showers are not making it into Denver, unfortunately, and we'll be watching the burn scar areas closely as we're expecting rain day after day starting on Wednesday right into the weekend. Only isolated storms expected in Denver tomorrow, but things change on Wednesday. Temperatures will trend very mild overnight tonight, upper 60s, low 70s, but those changes in the form of better air, cooler temperatures, and rain heavy for some areas. It's all part of our extended forecast. I'll have the timing and impact coming up.
A Longmont police officer is on paid leave after a deadly shooting. According to Longmont police, the officer opened fire on a man who was holding a person he knew hostage. The department says 3 officers were called to the home near the intersection of Creekside Drive and Eagle View Circle just before 3 o'clock this afternoon. Longmont police say a 20-year-old man told them he had a gun and didn't comply with officers' commands. They say 1 officer opened fire. The man was pronounced dead at the hospital. The officer will be on leave while an outside investigation is conducted. Police say they believe the suspect is a defendant in a pending case in Boulder County involving the same victim.
A state trooper is recovering from a serious crash on I-70 near the tunnel. CSP says the trooper and his K9 were parked on the right shoulder of eastbound lanes this morning. After hearing about a crash on the westbound side, CSP says he activated his emergency lights and began turning left across traffic. When he did that, another driver hit his patrol car. Investigators say an older couple inside that SUV were taken to the hospital. A helicopter airlifted the trooper. He is expected to survive. The K9 was taken to the vet as a precaution.
The Red Cross is helping 7 people who are out of their homes tonight after a fire broke out in Aurora. Aurora Fire says that fire involved 2 homes on East Alaska Avenue, just south of East Alameda Avenue, about 7:30 tonight. They were able to get the flames under control within about an hour. No one was hurt, but 7 adults were displaced. The cause of that fire is under investigation. Investigators are working to determine exactly what caused a grass fire in Greeley that killed a woman and seriously injured a man over the weekend. As that work continues, we are hearing from a woman mourning the loss of her daughter.
9 News reporter Janelle Finch spoke with her.
Being a parent means being available for your kids when they call.
Yes, of course, anytime.
Tammy McKee says when her daughter Desiree dialed, it was to run small errands.
Go to the store, go downtown to the library.
Since Saturday, McKee hasn't been called on.
I'm trying to compose myself because I can burst out crying.
She says her daughter died in a grass fire that sparked near the Highway 34 and Highway 85 interchange in Greeley. The fire started after a microburst swept through the area, causing power lines to snap.
I got in my car with Desiree's dad, and we drove down to where we thought she was.
McKee says Desiree and her boyfriend were living at a homeless encampment there. She believes he tried to save her from the flames.
I want him to know I appreciate what he did for me to try to get my daughter out of there.
McKee says even at 45 years old, Desiree was her little girl.
She was my baby. She was one of my babies.
She says she's still getting used to the silence of not hearing her phone ring.
A hard thing to swallow. Very hard.
At last check, the man injured in the fire was in critical condition. Greeley PD and fire are investigating. Anyone with information is asked to reach out to the police department. Janelle Finch, 9 News.
That woman's death in Greeley is calling attention to the rapid and unpredictable nature of grass fires. We talked with Strasburg Fire today. They told us grass fires can spread as quickly as 10 feet per second. So in the wind, the fire can spread almost instantly, making it difficult to fight or escape even for experienced firefighters.
Now put that to a civilian who may be inadvertently trapped in one of those with the super fire or super rapid spread of the fire and potentially extreme smoke conditions. It just creates an extreme risk to anybody involved.
According to the National Fire Protection Association, about 70% of all fires in the U.S. are brush or grass fires. A West Metro firefighter who was seriously injured in a fall during technical rescue training near Morrison is no longer in the hospital. Jared Leonard has been moved to a transitional care facility. Several West Metro crews were there to escort him to the hospital, from the hospital to the facility this afternoon. They said the next goal is for Leonard to move to a neurological rehab facility. He suffered a traumatic brain injury when he fell 50 feet. West Metro says he still has a long road ahead.
Leaders in Boulder Valley schools are preparing to address a federal civil rights complaint. The Anti-Defamation League filed a complaint in June. It says a Jewish middle school student endured repeated anti-Semitic harassment, threats, and physical assault. That complaint also argued district officials failed to adequately intervene. Afterward, the superintendent promised system-wide corrective action. At a meeting tomorrow, the school board is scheduled to talk about proposed updates to its policies on non-discrimination and bullying. Northglenn is moving to bring speed cameras to the city. Tonight, the City Council unanimously approved an ordinance to install automated speed enforcement cameras along 3 corridors, 104th, 112th, and 120th. There will be 3 thresholds of tickets, and most drivers will receive a $40 fine through the mail. Officials say once launched, there will be a 30-day notice warning period about the cameras, and then the fines will come along with them.
Colorado State Patrol is sending out another warning about motorcycle lane splitting. CSP offered up this video to illustrate their point. You'll see the driver try to split the lanes of traffic, doesn't see the white car changing lanes. We pause it there as they collide. The crash happened Friday morning on I-76. State Patrol has not said how that motorcycle rider is doing. Colorado passed a law in 2024 that does allow lane filtering. That's when a motorcycle rider goes between cars at a red light or stop sign. That's different than lane splitting, where the rider tries the same maneuver in moving traffic. That's illegal and can cause a fine.
The Broncos say they have bought some of the land where they want to build their new stadium. According to our reporting partners at the Denver Business Journal, that land is currently occupied by a concrete company. So this purchase helps the team clear a big hurdle. The team's plan for a new stadium at Burnham Yard includes the land where that company, called SRM, operates. The team's owner, Greg Penner, confirmed acquiring that property was necessary before finalizing stadium plans. The Broncos say they bought about 10 acres of land from SRM. Just last week, the Broncos released renderings that indicate the concrete site is within the boundaries of the team's plan for the stadium and adjacent development. A green space around the stadium and a neighborhood called North End are depicted at that location. And oh, by the way, the Broncos kick off their preseason this Friday in Atlanta against the Falcons. 9 News, your home for the Broncos, will be airing that game with coverage starting at 5 p.m. You can also watch it in Colorado for free. Just look for the Broncos stream on the 9 News app and 9news.com.